Picture this. You told yourself you were leaving an hour ago. Maybe you're up, maybe you're down. Honestly, it doesn't even matter. The car keys are right there in your pocket. Your hand starts to move. But then there it is. That quiet little thought that just gets louder and louder. Just one more hand. Just one more spin. But here's the thing you need to understand. That is not a logical decision you're making. That is a neurological hijack. Welcome to Mind Over Odds. We believe that when you really understand your own biology, you get your power back. Our mission is pretty simple. Control your emotions so you can control your outcomes. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that one more urge. We're going to look at the actual brain wiring that drives it. And most importantly, I'm going to give you a tool to reset that circuit right in the heat of the moment. All right, let's just dive right in. That feeling, that need for one more hand, it's not a failure of willpower. It's not you being weak. It's actually a feature of your brain's own architecture being expertly used against you. It's an incredibly common experience, and just understanding what's really going on inside your skull is the very first step to taking back the controls. So this urge, it's part of a compulsive loop where your brain's reward system has been systematically taken over. And get this, the patterns of behavior that result are, from a brain scan's perspective, literally indistinguishable from those we see in substance addiction. So let's be clear, this isn't some moral failing. It is a predictable biological response to a very, very powerful stimulus. Okay, so to really get how this hijack works, we've got to talk about one of the most famous chemicals in the brain, dopamine. But you know what? Its reputation is, well, it's a little misleading. We all hear it called the pleasure chemical, right? But that's not really what it is. What neuroscience is showing us is that dopamine is really the chemical of anticipation. It's motivation. It's the neurochemical that drives us to seek a reward, not the one that lets us enjoy it. Its main job is to shout to the rest of your brain, hey, pay attention, this might be important, do that thing again. It's the engine of wanting. Now, in a normal, predictable world, that system works great. You feel hungry, you go eat, and boom, the dopamine circuit closes. You're satisfied. But gambling environments are built on the exact opposite. Variable rewards. The payout is designed to be unpredictable. And when your brain can't predict when or if a reward is coming, that seeking system, it doesn't shut down. It kicks into overdrive, leaving that dopamine loop wide open and screaming for an answer. And this is the absolute key. After a while, your brain isn't even playing for the money anymore. It's playing to solve the puzzle. It's obsessed with closing that predictive loop. Every spin, every hand, especially every near miss, just pours more fuel on the fire, cranking up that desperate need to find out what happens next. You're not seeking a win anymore, you're seeking certainty. So this constant dopamine-driven seeking creates this huge internal conflict. It's like a power struggle happening right inside your head, and it's what allows that one more urge to grab the steering wheel. Think of it like this. You've got two systems that are constantly fighting for control. First, you've got your prefrontal cortex. We'll call it the boss. This is the part of your brain that's all about long-term planning, impulse control, rational thought. It's the part that knows you've got bills to pay and you need to get home. But competing with the boss is your limbic system. We'll call that one the alarm. This system runs on pure, raw emotion, instinct, and impulse. And it's the part that's just getting flooded with that dopamine-seeking signal. Now, after hours in a super high-stress, stimulating environment, you experience something called cognitive depletion. See, willpower, it's not some infinite wellspring. It's more like a muscle or a battery. It's a finite resource. The longer you play, the more tired the boss brain gets and the quieter its voice becomes. And you can literally see this decline happening. As the hours tick by, your willpower, your actual ability to make rational long-term decisions, it just runs out of juice. Meanwhile, that emotional alarm system, it's just getting louder and stronger, amped up on dopamine and adrenaline. And this leads to the critical moment. The one more urge is basically a neurological coup. It's the moment when the impulsive, screaming alarm system finally overthrows the exhausted, logical boss system. Your insight and your logic are knocked offline, and pure instinct takes over. So, if your logic is offline, how in the world do you fight back? Well, the answer can't be an argument. It has to be an action. That's the million-dollar question, right? When your emotional brain has seized control, you can't just reason with it. Trying to argue with that urge, telling yourself, I should leave, or this is a really bad idea, That's almost always a losing battle, because in that moment, your brain is a much better liar than you are a debater. You have to physically interrupt the circuit. You have to give your prefrontal cortex, the boss, a simple, clear task that forces it to reboot and come back online. And this is exactly where the 1-minute reset protocol comes in. So the moment you feel that urge, here's what you do. Step 1, the stop. For 10 seconds, you physically freeze. Don't place the bet. Don't pick up the cards. Just stop. Count to 10. This is your circuit breaker. Next, the step. You are going to change your physical state. If you're sitting, stand up. Turn your body, look away from the table, and find an exit with your eyes. This simple action shatters the tunnel vision that keeps you locked in. And finally, the query. This is the most important part. You're going to ask your brain a high-level, analytical question. Not should I stay or go, but this exact question. Am I making a strategic choice, or am I satisfying a neurochemical urge? See that emotional alarm brain? It can't answer that. It doesn't have the tools. Asking this question forces the boss to get back to its desk, turn on the lights, and actually analyze the situation. It forces you to see the urge for what it is, just a biological signal. Now, that protocol is a powerful emergency brake for the moment, but the bigger long-term goal is to make your brain less susceptible to the hijack in the first place. It's about rebuilding your foundation. See, when you're chronically overstimulated from these huge dopamine activities, normal, healthy rewards start to feel, well, kind of dull and boring. It's like listening to music on full blast for hours. A normal conversation starts to sound like a whisper. Your brain's receptors literally become less sensitive. The goal of recovery is to restore that sensitivity so that simple things like a walk or a conversation with a friend or a good meal actually feel rewarding again. And I've got to be honest, this is not an overnight fix. Research and clinical experience show us that it typically takes about 6 to 12 weeks of real, sustained behavioral change for those dopamine receptors to start to meaningfully recalibrate and for natural rewards to begin feeling genuinely satisfying again. So, here's a simple roadmap for how to get there. It's all about consciously reintroducing activities that give you a more balanced, natural reward. And you don't have to start by running a marathon. Start small, really small. A few minutes of sunlight, a quick phone call, watching a funny video. These little actions begin the slow, steady process of retraining your brain's palate. So in the end, it really all comes back to this one question. Real power isn't in trying to resist the urge with brute force. It's in recognizing it for what it is before it takes hold. Simply being able to pause and ask yourself this question is the first and most powerful step you can take. When you can learn to label that intense feeling, not as me, but as a biological glitch, just a predictable signal from a hijacked system, you rob it of its power. You regain control. Because it's only when you can control your emotions that you can truly control your outcomes. If you found this helpful, please do me a favor and hit the like button so other people can find it, and share it with anyone you think might need to hear this. I'd love to hear your own strategies for handling these moments in the comments below. And of course, be sure to subscribe to Mind Over Odds for more insights into the architecture of your mind. Thanks for watching.